I just finished the visual quest for the Golden Apple Archipelago, and we had a communication with an unknown character, which I believe is the Dendro Archon. And pretty much she explained to us that we were in something called the Fantastic Mirage. And this really excited me because I was wondering, where did this mirage come from? Was it Alice? Because when we played the Golden Archipelago before, it was basically enacted by Alice, and Alice is a character that we have yet to see. So this entire time I've been basically, you know, wondering, are we going to get to finally meet Alice this time? What would make the Golden Apple Archipelago worth it this time around to do this all over again? I know we have these characters and we're going to dive into their backstory, but I just didn't know how we would get there and how it would all be connected to what's going on now in the story and what's soon to come. And so basically, you know, when Hoyoverse announced the Golden Apple Archipelago was returning, I wasn't too excited. I was a little, I don't know, taken aback as to why we had to do this dance again. I mean, of course, every event I cherish because, you know, I'm gonna get more primos, but you know, it just, I didn't know how they would change up the activities and the mini games. Now, some of the mini games they showed in the co-ops events that they showed in the live stream was interesting, but it seemed kind of, you know, not on par with what I would expect from mini games, or not as good as the early mini games they had in I think the first Mondstadt festival that they had. And pretty much the bar for me in mini games is like I was expecting something at least on the level of like Fall Guys, and so I'm always expecting that from Hoyoverse. And so, you know, when I think about the Golden Apple Archipelago coming back, I just wasn't sure what we were going to get and why specifically we had to use with these characters, why specifically Fischl, Kazuha, Xinyan, and Mona were going to be featured. It just seemed kind of random. But boy, was I pleasantly surprised. I mean, first of all, the thing about Genshin is a lot of these stories about these characters repeat the same kind of concept. Like with Kazuo, every story beat has been about his family falling from grace and him trying to remove the pain of his past. And basically, I feel like Kazuha was able to help me develop a deeper connection with him through his Mirage story. It really surprised me how much more connected I felt to all of the characters after their Mirages. Now, I'm not quite, I think I just finished the Mona one, but I think I still have some chests to find. But after, what connects all these characters and why specifically were they chosen? Well, what I interpret or what I got from it was basically these characters all have their they all revolve around the theme of kind of like time. So like Kazuha's trying, what's important to him is to remove the weight and pain of his past, of the burden of his family. And his father even tells him like he thinks he should move on, he shouldn't let it weigh him down. And I resonated with that because, you know, a lot of people grow up with traumas in their past that they're trying to get away from, and so I can relate to that. I already knew that was a thing about Kazuha, but I think the visualization of it and the art of it and the way it was presented was in a way that was unique and fresh. The shadow the shadow thing they had going on where they were appearing behind the walls and you could see their shadow and they were talking, and the quote that his father gave about, you know, if you're a wounded animal, you should cut off your leg instead of staying trapped, because your two options are to stay trapped or you're going to be wounded either way, you know, so you might as well be able to be free and decide your destiny, your fate. I thought that was a great, you know, kind of parable, and it just a re-explanation of why Kazuha should feel like he is ready to move on. And same thing with Xinyan, who was next, where it's like she should feel like she's achieved what was important to her, you know, which is she wanted to have a great musical performance. She wanted to be respected as a musician. And I feel like where Kazuha was trying to move away from the problems of his past, Xinyan was trying to move towards a goal set before her, which would happen to be music happened to be the vehicle of that. And then you have Fischl, who's dealing with who she is right now. Does she even deserve to be Fischl? And one thing that was interesting about Fischl is that I had not read her profile, and I did not know that her name was not Fischl. So when I was able to figure out that her name is really Amy, and that Fischl was a character that she was impersonating from a story, it's interesting on why she feels she's Fischl, and to have her affirm that she is worthy of donning the name of Fischl. You know, a lot of people take on different names and different nicknames, and sometimes you can feel like an imposter, and I thought that was fitting for a person who loves acting and loves theater, and some of the stones, I had a chance to talk to some of the stone gargoyles around her Mirage, and they were very interesting to talk to. And then you have Mona, that's kind of like has her story has to do with fate and guiding people through the traumas of their past and what they're doing presently into the right fate, and where their destiny may lead. And you know, she's trying to help them like as a travel guide, because she can kind of see what will happen to them. And I thought that this connected all the characters, and I felt like these characters, after, like before now, they were just kind of strangers to each other, or at least, you know, two of them, I think Mona and Fischl was friends, and I think Kazuha knew Xinyan as well. But after this story, I now carry a connection to them, and I can see the connection between them. And I think that is special. To see the connection between these characters is very special to me, because now it feels more like a family friendship that's building, like a friend group. And that is important, because when things do pop off, we have something, people who have been paying attention, who have invested emotionally in the story, they will feel that they have something to protect. They will feel the impact, and I'm hoping that I do feel the intense impact of this moment later on. And I think that is going to be the special thing about Genshin. We've been building and building and building to these big moments, and that's kind of where I am, is that this is an important building block for, you know, moments to come. Now, when the Mirage first started, we had inanimate objects speaking to us. We had the boat. We also had the squirrel speaking to us. So now that I feel like, my assumption is that that's the Dendro Archon, this is her ability, and like how she's able to reach this far with this kind of ability is pretty amazing. And then you have the fact that she was able to break the communication between us and Venti, which means that she is able to communicate over long distances. It really highlighted to me why the Fatui needs to deal with her. The Fatui needs to deal with her, because if she can see the truth of who you are, if she can communicate with things around you, you know, if we're communicating with boats, who's to say she can't communicate with the chess pieces in the Fatui's when Piero is talking to the Tsaritsa? So I really do feel like it highlights the importance of why the Dendro Archon is a threat to the Fatui. And it's pretty hilarious that they're trying to steal, or at least appropriate her power, or at least understand her power, and they're being spiraled into madness. And then for gameplay purposes, it leads me to believe this character might be the greatest CC character in the game, for the simple fact that her CC, unlike Venti, where his CC is reliant on moving characters together, I think her CC be more reliant on stopping characters, completely putting them into a dazed state. And it also led me to imagine how that could make Venti, you know, not be completely taken out of the game by bigger enemies. What if the Dendro Archon applies CC, and then that opens up Venti to be able to apply his CC to them, and that would act as a balancing mechanism, because the fact that you have to use Dendro and Animal and Dendro apparently, it hasn't been shown yet, apparently don't have a reaction, or we don't know it has a reaction yet. It would kind of start to balance the damage versus the additional CC on the bigger enemies. And so that's all interesting to me. And it's this summer event turned from something that I really had ignored or already looked past in my mind to something that has stuck with me and has really imprinted itself on me. And I'm really looking forward to finishing the last part of the quest right today, where I'm going to be basically helping fix the Fatui machine. I tried to do it last night, but I have a full-time job, I have a kid and a wife, so I don't have enough time to really keep up with how fast, you know, some of the content creators that I watch or some of the people that I see are doing the quest and kind of spoiling it on Twitter at least. So you know, I don't have enough time to really catch up to that, but I am excited nevertheless to finish the quest and see what the Summer Island adventure has in store for me going forward. This has been a pleasure and enjoyment for me. It's not the content that I want, but I think it adds to the content that I want. That's what I want people to think about. MiHoYo and now Hoyoverse is trying to build up to something. I think I'm not trying to give him excuse for the flaws of the game, because I think that gacha is horrible. I've played tons of gacha games since I started playing Genshin, and just anyone convinced me I don't like gambling. I don't think it's a good thing for the world, but that's just a whole nother conversation for another day. But basically, I think that the reason why I like and enjoy this content is in hopes that I can take this feeling with me. And I'm gonna give you an example. Say we get to, let's even look past Sumeru. Say we get to the Pyro Archon land. I think it's Atlan. It might be Atlan. Say we get there and there's a huge fight that breaks out, and Kazuha, you know, bites the bullet. The time that we spent with him now, and knowing that he worked so hard to empty himself of his past pain to move forward and see the world, so that he can paint his own bonsai plant that represents the most beautiful things that he's seen in his journey, that he was starting his journey, would impact us greater that we've had this time to spend with him. And that is what I think is special about Genshin Impact. Anyway, this has been fun. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.